Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be doing another unboxing. We have 8 aircraft to unbox today, some Gemini jets, some NG. Weirdly, my unboxings always seem to be balanced. We have 4 Gemini jets models and then we have 4 NG models, one of which I'm very interested in. I'm interested in all of them, but the last one in particular I'm extra keen on. So with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and go through all the aircraft we're going to be unboxing today in the regular style. So starting off, an aircraft that I've wanted for a very long time, we have the Gemini Jets Porter -8 Q400. Now I do have a Porter Q400 in my collection. However, it's from a special livery. That special livery that I have, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was repainted many years ago, so I've just essentially been using it as a placeholder until I could get my hands on a regular livery Porter Q400. Of course, Porter are using more and more of their E2s, but the Q400s are still their primary aircraft from Toronto City airports. So this model is going to come in handy. And next up, adding to my British Airways collection, here we have the British Airways A320neo in the BA Better World color scheme. This color scheme is kind of an environmental color scheme, and I still want a regular British Airways A320neo in my collection. I have every wide-body BA have, but I'm just still working on their narrow bodies. I need an A320neo, an A321neo, and then an Embraer E190, and I think I have every single British Airways aircraft, so this is a step towards that at least. Next up, a very similar livery but from a different airline, we have the United Boeing 737 MAX 10 in the Future is SAF livery. Of course, SAF standing for Sustainable Aviation Fuel. I believe this is like a play on words with SAF and safe. But yeah, it's a pretty decent livery. Of course, the MAX 10s aren't going to be in operation until now after 2025. They've been delayed officially now, so we probably won't see this one flying for a while yet, but it's still a pretty cool livery. Next, we have another United aircraft. We have the United Boeing 757-300. This is an aircraft I've waited for a very long time for. Of course, I have the 753 in the older United color scheme. I've just been waiting for the release of the 753 in the new color scheme. So this is a very long-awaited aircraft into the collection. Sticking with United, we have another aircraft I've wanted for a very long time. We have the Gemini Jets United 767-400ER. Of course, these are flying a lot into Washington Dulles at the moment. These are scheduled to be retired by the end of the decade, but of course that's still long away. So, you know, we will still have many more years of operations of the 764. But it's pretty cool to finally have a mold of the Evo Blue 764 that I can add into my collection. Next up, moving to Central America now, we have the Copa 737 MAX 9. Of course, I have the 737-800s from Copa, so this is a MAX generation 737 for Copa to update their fleet a little bit. I believe the MAX 9s are actually flying into Dulles at the moment, so this is a well-needed addition to the collection. Next, moving on to an aircraft that I'm very interested in, and it's an airline that I don't yet have in my collection. We have the Gemini Jets ITA A330-900. Of course, ITA are flying into Dulles at the moment, and they are using, I believe, a mixture of the A330-200s and the A330-900s. And of course, I love the mold from Gemini Jets of the A330-900. And ITA, I don't have them yet in my collection. Of course, I have Alitalia, which is essentially the old ITA, but of course I don't have an ITA aircraft in the ITA livery yet, so that's what this aircraft is. And last but not least, I've had to tilt up the camera to get this one in frame. We have the new NG Air India A350-900. This one is NG's new Ultimate or Premium Collector's Series aircraft. This is my first one from that line. And it just comes in a nicer box. You have different details that just make this a more premium model, and so I'm very much looking forward to unboxing this aircraft. Okay, so starting off with the smallest of them all, the Porter Q400. Now I'm going to go ahead and unbox this. This is an aircraft I've wanted for a very long time. As I said, I have the E2 from Porter and also the Q400 in the special livery, but I've been waiting for a very long time for this regular Porter Q400, and here it is. So Porter's primary aircraft these days is the Embraer E195-E2, which is the newer generation of the E-Jet family. They have 75 of those on order in total, with 25 options, so it could be that Porter in the future have 100 E2s in their fleet. The E2 of course has a much greater range than the Q400, but it's a much more conventional aircraft than the Q400. The Q400 is really good at getting into those smaller airports, those challenging approaches, and also shorter runways as well. That being said, the E2s for Porter are based across Canada, but in Toronto at the Pearson Airport, which is the larger international airport. The Q400s, these ones, are based at the smaller Toronto City Airport, also known as Billy Bishop. I flew Porter back in 2022. I flew them from Chicago Midway over to Billy Bishop and then onwards to Moncton in Canada, and the Q400s were very convenient. They were very nice to fly. They were a little bit on the older side, but these are just convenient aircraft. So with that being said, the E2s aren't exactly replacing the Q400s. They are just essentially expanding the Porter portfolio, allowing Porter to fly to further away destinations. Porter fly, I mean, across the United States now from Canada, and across different Canadian airports as well. They were very Toronto based before, whereas now they fly from Ottawa, a bunch of different airports like that across Canada. As it stands, Porter have 29 of these Q400s in their fleet, and there isn't a set replacement for them yet. There isn't really a replacement available for the Q400. As I said before, the Q400 is a very specific aircraft, which is why a lot of airlines love them, and they are actually still in production. They are slowing up production now. I think they've only got a handful more to make, and I believe they're going off to like Ethiopia and different Asian countries. They're not really being ordered to any Western airlines anymore. But with that being said, Porter will still be operating the Q400 for many years into the future, but from, of course, Billy Bishop, and they are currently still flying these into Washington Dulles. They fly them around Canada and to a few airports in the US, such as Washington Dulles, Newark Liberty, and also Chicago Midway. But taking a look at this aircraft, of course, we have the classic nose of the Q400 there, the L1 door, the Porter titles, those overhead wings there with the landing gear and the engines, and then of course we have the tail with their unique Porter logo design on the tail. It does look like a pretty cool aircraft, and one that I'm eager to get into my collection. Next up we have the British Airways BA Better World Airbus A320neo. This looks like a pretty cool aircraft. Of course it's cool to see the British Airways logo in anything other than the classic red and blue. Of course the tail is very turquoisey on this aircraft, so that's pretty cool to see. It reminds me a lot of the Golden Dove livery BA had on their A319 back in 2012, when of course the London Olympics were in place. So here we have the aircraft. It looks pretty good. British Airways currently have 25 of these A320neos in operation, with a further 8 on order. They've got a long way to go before they can replace the regular A320 family of aircraft. I think BA are going to need to place a pretty large order for either the Neos or potentially the Maxes in the future, because the amount of Neos they have on order just doesn't add up to the amount of regular A320s and A319s that they have in their fleet currently. But this livery looks really cool as well. I always love the turquoisey liveries. They look pretty good. Of course, up the front here we have a lot of turquoisey patterns with, of course, the BA logo there. We have the BA Better World titles, the turquoise engines there. Our most important journey yet, of course, hinting at the environmental impact that this livery is trying to represent. Then the tail here, again, the BA logo in the turquoisey colour scheme. And I presume that this livery is essentially representing all of the new environmentally friendly aircraft that BA are adding to their fleet, like, for example, the A320neo over the A320, and of course they also have the A321neo in service as well. It's a pretty cool looking aircraft, but I do wish that British Airways would add some more interesting special liveries into their fleet. Like, for example, the retro liveries that we had on the 747s, they were amazing. I wish we could get some liveries like that, or even the Golden Dove livery. If we brought back that one every time we went to the Olympics or something, that would be really, really cool. But overall, a pretty good looking aircraft, and I cannot wait to add this into my British Airways collection. And again, a very similar livery in the fact that this is an environmental livery. Here we have the United 737 MAX 10 in the future is SAF livery. Again, the Max 10s aren't set to be joining any fleet until after 2025 now. Originally, they were scheduled to join the United fleet this year, as United are the launch customer of the Max 10. However, after the recent 737 MAX issues, United were actually the one to ask Boeing to delay the 737 MAX 10 deliveries for safety reasons. Of course, it's both in the interest of United and Boeing that they don't have another mess up. Of course, with the MAX 8 release, they had the MCAS issues, and then with the MAX 9, they had the emergency exit door issue. So far, Boeing haven't released a variant of the 737 MAX without an issue yet. The MAX 10 being the next variant of the MAX to go into service, they don't want to make that 3 times in a row. So the MAX 10 has to launch without a flaw, hence why United have asked Boeing to delay the orders. And so here we have the aircraft. It's a very simple special livery, of course. It's only got a few different colours on the rear end of the aircraft there. It's very similar to the Eco Skies livery that we had on the 737-900. Similar in theme, I mean, anyway. And of course we've got the greens and the blues that you like to see that sort of represent to people seeing the aircraft that the airline is good for the environment. Of course, sustainable aviation fuel is sustainable in that, you know, it's recycled. But it's not actually any better for the environment. It's just sustainable, so it's still, you know, the aircraft is still producing the same amount of emissions as regular fuel. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just recycled and sustainable, basically. But yeah, other than that, it looks like a pretty regular 737 MAX 10 to me. Of course, the weird part about this livery is the front half is just completely white. There's no blue underbelly that you usually get on the United logo, which looks a bit weird, not gonna lie. But of course, the main difference is the different colors on the tail. Other than that, it's sort of an average special livery. It's, you know, got a few extra colors on there, but it doesn't particularly look any good. So yeah, it'll just be another United aircraft into the collection. And next here we have the United Boeing 757-300. Now I'm getting there with my United collection these days. Of course, with this 753 and then my 764 as well that we'll be unboxing later, I'm getting there. I'm pretty much at most of the aircraft that United operate now, so this is going to make an amazing addition to my United collection. And of course the 757-300, considering how long and skinny it is known as the flying pencil. And so here we have the United 757-300. United are the largest operator of this type in the world. It's not a very common aircraft to see. There's only a handful of airlines that actually operate the 753 these days. Of course, United are the largest. The second largest operator of the type is Delta. Then Icelandair, I believe, have 2. They're going to be retired in 2027. And then Condor have a few as well. However, they're going to be replaced by the A321neo coming up pretty soon. But taking a look at the aircraft, of course, it's basically exactly the same as a 752. It's just extended, basically. So we have the cockpit windows up there, the L1 door, the United titles, the blue engines, the United tail, and overall it just looks like a really cool aircraft. Next up we have another fairly rare aircraft. This is the 767-400. Not many of these were built, and again the primary operators, similar to the 753, are United and Delta. It's the largest variant of the 767, and these are flying a lot into Washington Dulles. Considering that United only have 16, that's quite impressive. And these are set to be retired by the 2030s. I think that's the same with all of the 757s and the 767s in United's fleet. They are going to be replaced by 2030, all those different types. So it's pretty sad to see them go, but we still have many years with them left. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and open up this 767-400. As well, on top of this being quite a rare aircraft, this is actually my first 767-400 in my collection. I think one of the most noticeable features of aircraft when they are essentially, when a new variant is added, is always the winglets. With the 767 you can definitely notice the improvements of the winglets with this one when compared to, for example, the 767-200 and then the 300. Of course the 300s have those large winglets, but on the 400 here it looks a lot more like a 777 with the winglets like this. And of course I guess this is going on towards the 777 program and then onwards to the 787, and you can sort of see the shape, you know, finding its way through the different models from the 767 to the 777 and then the 787. They sort of flow into that shape when comparing the different variants. So it's pretty interesting to see how that adjusts over time. But apart from the winglets, I believe it's a bit longer. It's a stretched version of the 763. Again, it's more similar to a 777-200, a little bit smaller than a 222, but it's getting towards that sort of territory, the 222 territory. But taking a look at the aircraft, starting off, we have the 767 nose there, pretty much the same as a 763. We got the L1 door there, the United titles, the L2 door. We have the fairly small engines for the size of aircraft that this is. I don't know whether the 764 suffers with a little bit of the A340-300 situation where the engines are just so tiny that it struggles with power a little bit. As I said, this is sort of getting close to the size of a 222, but of course the 222s have those giant GE90s most of the time to power the aircraft, but these engines seem a little bit small for the size of aircraft they're on. Then of course we have these wings, as I mentioned, looking a lot more like a 777 or a 787, and then at the back here we have the Wi-Fi box and the United logo on the tail. Overall, I'm excited to finally have a 767-400 in my collection, and with that we're going to move on to our next aircraft now. Next up, updating my Copa fleets. Here we have the Copa Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9. Copa, of course, are naturally transitioning over to the MAX aircraft. It will take a number of years before their Dash 800s are all gone, but they are slowly getting there with the MAX aircraft. They currently have 32 of the 737 MAX 9s in operation, with MAX 8s and MAX 10s also on order. I believe these MAX 9s are currently flying to Washington Dulles as well, so it's pretty good that I have this aircraft coming into my collection now. And so here we have the aircraft. Taking a look in detail now, we have the nose of the 737 MAX there with the extended landing gear on the MAX there. Of course, the forward landing gear is extended compared to the new generation 737s just because of how large the engines are on the MAX. We have the Copa Airlines titles up there, emergency exits, of course, the MAX engines with the chevrons, the MAX winglets. We have the emergency exit that caused all the problems for the 737 MAX here, and then we have the Panama flag and the Copa tail as well. Next up, moving on to the last two aircraft, and these last two are the aircraft that I'm looking forward to unboxing the most. Here we have the ITA Airbus A330-900. Now, I love the Gemini Jets mold of the A330-900, and ITA seem like a pretty cool airline, so this is going to make a really nice model to the collection. As you can see, the A330-900 is pushing the boundaries of this smaller size of box there. I think they need to put this into a larger box, but it just about manages to squeeze into one of these smaller boxes. And so here we have the aircraft. So ITA Airways are a fairly new airline. They essentially took over from Alitalia. So Alitalia, of course, were Italy's national airline, but they had some financial issues well through the 2010s and up to when they finally went bankrupt. And then ITA essentially is the replacement for Alitalia. They're using a lot of ex-Alitalia aircraft, but they are introducing a brand new wide-body fleet. They do currently have 6 A330-200s in their fleet, but as more of these A330-900s come in, they will eventually be retiring the A330-200s to replace them, of course, with this aircraft. Currently, they have 11 of these A330-900s in operation, with a further 9 on order to bring their total fleet up to 20 A330-900s. And currently we are getting a mix of A330-200s and A330-900s into Washington Dulles, so sometimes it's this, sometimes it's the 200. You just sort of got to get your luck right with that, but as I said, eventually it will be just the A330-900s, but they do also have the A350-900 in their fleet as well. I believe they're operating to some of their high capacity routes. While the A350-900 doesn't have a huge capacity when compared to the A330-900, I believe it does have a few over the A330-900, so I believe they're flying to places like New York, whereas Dulles is getting the A330s. But they have 6 of those A350s in their fleet. But taking a look at this aircraft now, so of course we have the mascara around the cockpit windows there. We have the ITA Airways logo at the front with the blue fuselage there. We have the Wi-Fi box and of course the green, the white and the red on the tail for the Italian flag. And then, as I said, we have again the ITA logo on the engines there, but I do think that this would look better with blue engines. But overall, again, as I said, I love the A330-900. I think it looks really good, and I like this mold of the A330-900 as well. So this is going to look really good in some future Washington Dulles updates. And last but not least, the most anticipated aircraft for this unboxing, we have the premium Air India A350-900 from NG. This box is wrapped as well, and the box is quite special as well. I think it's just a more premium box, so we're going to take this out of the wrapping now, if I can figure out how to do that. So we're going to take the box out of the wrapping here. There we go, the very premium feeling box. I don't know if you can see that there, but the box is quite matte, and then of course the logo and everything, and the artwork on the box is kind of glossy. I'm trying to get the light so you can see that. There you go, you can sort of see that the logo and everything is a bit glossy. It's a really premium feel to the box there. And then I got to figure out how to open this. Oh, there we go. So this this front part opens up like this. Oh, it's magnetic as well. That's pretty cool. That opens up to reveal the model inside there. And look at some of the artwork on the inside of the box. That is a really premium box. So we're going to take, we got like a little pamphlet here. We're going to take that out and have a look at that first. Okay, so here we have this pamphlet. Inside the pamphlet, of course, we have our little discount card here as well. And then inside here we have some information about the aircraft, the diameter of the aircraft, and then we have some information. We have it in English. We also have it in, I believe, Chinese, and then I believe Hindi as well. And it just has a bit of information about the aircraft, which I may as well read. After being acquired by the Tata Group in October 2021, Air India signed orders of a total 470 new aircraft with Boeing and Airbus in the first half of 2023, which is almost equivalent to the renewal of the entire fleet. I remember that order being placed. It was a giant order. I think a world-breaking order as well. For this reason, Air India ushered in a rebranding after privatization. A new visual identity, new airline logo and uniforms, and new modern standard livery unveiled in August 2023 on, of course, the A350. From the airline logo symbolizing the rising sun to today's new logo with the window frame in gold, Air India red and purple symbolizing progress, the new Air India wordmark is written in outstanding and unique Air India sans font on the front part of the fuselage. The underbelly has a gold frame inspired by the previous livery, and the eye-catching Air India wordmark in white and red background. The engine housing is painted in solid Air India red and with a simple gold band around the front. The first application of the new scheme is on the brand new A350-900s for Air India. On the inside of the wingtips, the tail fin design is replicated in a smaller scale for personality and storytelling for passengers to enjoy, while the outside painted simple solid gold and conveying premium cues. Air India has ordered a total of 20 A350-900s and 20 A350-1000s with 10 options. So that's a pretty cool little feature that comes with some of the premium models. And now moving back to the aircraft itself, we can get out the model. And so here we have the aircraft. Air India currently operate a mixed fleet of the 777 and the 787 in their wide-body fleet, but they've also got a bunch of different aircraft on order. So of course this A350-900 is their newest wide-body into their fleet, and I believe they have a total of 20 of these on order. 6 of those are currently in operation, and a lot of those orders are aircraft that were set to be ordered or delivered to Aeroflot, but of course due to the Ukraine situation at the moment, those orders were cancelled, I believe, by Airbus, and then those aircraft that were already built have essentially just been redesignated to go to Air India instead, and they have a total of 20 of these on order. They have a further 20 of the A350-1000s on order. They then have 20 of the 787-9s on order, and then 10 of the 777-9Xs as well, which is pretty cool. But overall, moving on to this aircraft, I believe that the new livery is a much needed improvement to the old Air India livery. I think the old Air India livery was a bit dated. However, the one thing that a lot of people are annoyed about is the lack of any window outlines on the new livery. Of course, on the older livery, each window had a little outline, but the new livery doesn't feature that, which is, you know, to a lot of people a bit annoying. But I think this livery just looks clean, it's very fresh, it's very new, which I quite like. But starting off on this aircraft here, at the front we have the windows with the mascara, we have the India flag in front of the L1 door there, we have the L1 door itself, the Air India titles in red, the L2 door, we have the underbelly there in red and gold, we have the engines in red and gold again, and then moving back we have the winglets there, and then the tail here with red, gold and purple, which is pretty cool. While we are still getting the 787-8s into Washington Dulles, which do not feature the new Air India livery at the moment, I look forward to the days when we eventually get an Air India new livery into Washington Dulles. Maybe that could be on the A350, I'm not sure how this is going to go, but there we go, it looks like a pretty cool model. And overall, I believe this has been a very successful unboxing. I can't even remember the last time we've had a broken model arrive from either Gemini Jets or NG, so both companies have really gotten on top of that, which is really good. And all of these aircraft look really, really good, and I think they're all going to make, I know I say it after every model, but that's just because I mean it. I believe that these all are going to make great additions to the collection. So with that, I want to thank you very much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.